Hello you two, and welcome to lesson 2 of your DT learning for this half term. So we're going to make a start. So just before we start the lesson, we're going to go over our knowing more, remembering more. So first question is, it says, it's a true or false. Product analysis is when you look at existing products that have already been made. Is that true or is that false? Have a think. You can either write your answers down on a piece of paper in front of you, or you can call out the answer to the screen. Question 2. What does functional mean? Is it A, something that's designed to be practical and useful? Is it B, something to work properly? Or C, something that is broken? Question 3. What is a design brief? Can you write down a definition for me, thinking about what we've learned last week? What is a design brief? You can pause the video now if you wish, just to write your answers down or to share your answers with an adult. We'll just call them out. Okay, welcome back. So we'll go through our answers now. So product analysis is when you look at existing products that have already been made. That is true. So we looked at that, we did that last week where we looked at the different types of bags that were available on the market, and we were analysing products that already existed. So that is true. The second one, what does functional mean? It is, the answer for that is A, something that is designed to be practical and useful. And then a definition of design brief is something that tells us what to make. So if you've got something along those lines, it tells us what to make, gives us some ideas about what to make, then you can give yourself a tick on that one. So today our lesson objectives are to consider the audience for the product and to make an initial design of the product. So vocabularies and keywords that we already know from last week and in our prior learning are these words on the left. So we've got fabric, textile, stitch, functional, purpose, product, and sturdy. So words that we're going to do meeting this week in our lesson and our learning. We're going to do my turn, your turn. So I'll do my turn first and then you can repeat it back. So we've got quite a few to go through today. So the first one is my turn, user. The next one, prototype. Next one, end product. Functional. Audience. Design. Got a longer one now. Geometric shape. And a really long one there, so listen very carefully. Embellishment. And finally, scale. Super. Okay, so our design brief. Now, what was or is our design brief? There's a clue in the picture there. Who can remember what it is that we were asked to do last week? Who are we creating our product for? Which person or people is our product that we're creating for? Now we can remind ourselves that the product, the bag, needs to be designed and tested because it was that we were asked in the design brief to make some sort of bag for Teddy and for the bear when he goes on holidays to put all his items in. Now, when we think about the product and we know that it needs to be designed and tested, we call this type of thing a prototype, okay? So when we first think about an idea or design, we're thinking about something called the prototype. And it's a model on which our ideas are based. And they can always be improved, okay? A prototype doesn't have to be exactly the same from the very beginning. There might be, as you go along and you test the product, things that don't work as well or things that work better than you thought they would, and you might need to make some changes, okay? But that's the whole point of designing. You're working and amending as you go. So let's have a quick recap on last week's learning. What different types of bags did we look at last lesson? So again, you can talk this through with an adult if you've got one around you, or you can write some of these ideas down. What materials were they made from? And what particular features did the bags have? How were they not all the same? How were they different? What features did they have? Okay, so here's now some questions that we'd like you to think about. Now, what we would like you to do is, after we've asked these questions, we want you to pause the video and have a think about some of these answers. Okay, because remember, when you're designing, you always have to think about certain elements to your design, and these questions should be able to help you. So question 1 says, what will Teddy need the bag for? What does he need the bag for? What is its job? Then the next one, what type of bag will Teddy have? Were there some bags that perhaps we looked at last week that wouldn't work as well, and some that would? What particular features will Teddy's bag have? Is there anything that you remember looking at last week that the features you thought, actually, that's a really good idea because, okay. What will it be made from? So what materials? So if we think about our science learning, you know, sometimes we said about the significance of something being waterproof. You're going to try and think about how you can make your bag waterproof. Is that a good idea? Or could you think of an even better material or something that might be better suited? What size will it be? Now, you're certainly not going to give Teddy a human-sized suitcase because he wouldn't even be able to carry it. So what size does your suitcase, if that's what you're going to give him, or your bag, need to be? And the last question, how is it going to be joined together? So how are you going to put all the different parts and components together? And how is it going to be finished? Is it just going to be one colour? Are you going to have different designs on it? So pause the video now and have a think about some of those answers. Okay, welcome back. Now, we have a bit of an update to our original brief. So we know that we were being asked to make a bag for Teddy to take his items on holiday with him, and we had a list of the items that he needed to pack, but we've had an update that's come through to the office, and that is that Teddy loves geometric shapes. So if you look on the screen, you can see that there are different types of geometric shapes, okay, and they form different types of patterns. Now also, Teddy himself loves patterns, so how can we, and we're going to do my turn, your turn, embellish, which means decorate, our bag with Teddy's favourite things, because we need to think about the person we're making the bag for. We're not going to put a design on a bag that we like, that Teddy might not, so we need to think, how can we include some patterns and maybe even in the style of geometric shapes into our bag? What will that look like? Now, here are some other things that you need to think about as you're designing your bag for Teddy. Now, it needs to be made of a sturdy, my turn, sturdy material to carry Teddy's possessions. So it needs to be strong, okay? It can't be something that the minute he puts a couple of pairs of shoes in, it's all just going to fall apart, okay? So it needs to be sturdy to carry all of his things. The bag needs to be functional. Okay, so you're not going to give him something that he can't work with. Okay, so function we know means to be, you can use it and it makes sense, the purpose that you've made it for, okay, and it needs to be good at its job. And the last bit is the bag needs to be decorated with Teddy's favourite shapes. And we call that, my turn, embellishment. Super. So these are all things you need to think about when you're designing your bag. So a design prototype should, okay, so that's what we're doing today, a prototype, a design prototype, be drawn to scale. That means that all features need to be in, my turn, proportion with one another. Okay, so that means that you can't have things that are different sizes or looks bigger than the other. So you can't have the main part of the bag being huge and the straps of the bag being very tiny, because Teddy will not be able to carry that. He will topple over. Next thing you need to think about, it contains all of the features we've already spoken about. That your design prototype is coloured in neatly and accurately, so we need to stay within the lines. That you also include detailed labels to show the different elements or aspects of your product. So what materials you're going to use. So for example, felt. What are some of the features? So you might have straps to make like some sort of rucksack for him. How big it's going to be in centimetres. So you will need a ruler or some sort of measuring tape. You might need your adult to help you to do that, and that's absolutely fine. And then the different embellishments you're going to add onto your design prototype. So the materials that we're actually going to make, so maybe it would be a good idea if you write down the list of these somewhere, so maybe you've got a scrap piece of paper or just your book that you can write these in. So the materials you've got available to you to make your bag are some coloured felt, a needle, thread, so that's just here, the needle and the thread, sequins, and glue. Okay, PVA glue. So all of you should recognise this template. We have used it before, very similar, or something very similar, when we created our design prototypes for our playground in the autumn term. So on the right hand side, when my arrow is pointing to, you've got design idea 1 and design idea 2. Now what you need to do here is you need to actually draw 2 different ideas about the bag that you are going to make for Teddy following the prototype ideas and the design specifications that you've been given. Thinking about things like the embellishments, what features is going to have. Once you've drawn your design ideas, you then need to have the arrows coming out, labeling the different parts. Okay, so thinking about which part is going to be felt, which part will need to be joined using PVA, all of those things. Okay, then once you've done that, you can move on to this section, because this is the bit that needs your information, needs to get some writing down here. So the first one says, who is your bag for? Who are you designing the bag for? So simply, that would be Teddy. What type of bag is it? So you're going to need to think back to our learning from the previous week. Are you making him a rucksack, a suitcase, a handbag? What are you making for him? What particular features will it have? Okay, will it have straps? Will it not? How will it attach to his body? Then the next box says, what will it be made from? Okay, we know the main part of our bag will be made from felt, but is there going to be anything else? You need to list all of the things you're going to make your bag from. Then what size will it be? So how many centimetres? Remember we said we're working in centimetres. Again, you wouldn't have something that's like 60 centimetres if your teddy bear is only 30, okay? So you need to think about the different sizes of your bag. And then finally, what geometric pattern will it have? What pattern, what design will it have, which is one of the design specifications that you were given today. So before we finish, let's have a quick recap, and you're going to have a think about, are these true or false? And then we'll stop and you can go off and make your design prototype. So, true or false? A brief tells us what we're making. Second one, we do not need to consider the audience when we design our bag. Next one, a prototype is the real product. And finally, a product is designed with a function in mind. Okay, so a brief tells us what we are making. That is true, because it gives us guidance on what it is that we need to make. We do not need to consider the audience when we design our bag. Well, that is false, because if you don't think about the audience, the person or the people that the bag or the product is for, then it won't sell. If that's your aim, it won't be sold in shops because people won't buy it. There won't be the demand for it. Next one, a prototype is the real product. That is also false, because the prototype is kind of your first design, your first mock-up of your product, okay, and it can be changed. So it's just to show people this is what it's going to look like or might look like, and then you can make your changes as you go. And finally, the fourth one, a product is designed with a function in mind. That is true, okay, because your product has to have a particular function, it has to have a particular job. There must be a reason that you're designing that product. Now, at any point, you can go back to a particular slide if you need to remind yourself of what the design brief was, if that helps you to be able to create your design today. And as we said before, if there are any questions, you can come back later on and speak to one of your teachers in class during your live session, just to make any queries that you might have or answer any questions that you might have. Good luck, and I can't wait to see some of your design ideas.